one and all. This is Dr. Remy LeBeau, and I am here in the X-Lair to provide you with treatments. The sort of treatments that will cure you of your disease. The disease that has been the scourge of your life. Your inability to get enough X-Men statue videos in your life. Yes, today you will be cured. Or at least temporarily subdued so you won't, kill your nurse. Gotta work on those violent outbursts, my collecting friend. Alright, today we have something very interesting. We have a comparison of two Warpath statues. Now, what's most interesting about these is that this statue here, this Kotobukiya Warpath statue, is actually a custom repaint of the Kotobukiya X-Force statue into the X-Men colors that were officially produced in this version of Warpath by Bowen Designs. So this statue here is actually not available anywhere, and it is a one-of-a-kind. So it's an interesting comparison in that I'm comparing two statues, but they're not two statues that can be sold, that can be bought anywhere. And for that, I am sorry, and I hope that you, if you are interested in getting a Kotobukiya version of this statue in these colors, that you will, hire the guy that I hired, which you can find on the post. His name is Rob Guthrie. You can find the email on the individual post for this statue to be able to contact him and get him to do the magic that he did with this statue for me a couple of years ago now. Alright, I just took my gloves off, and I shouldn't have. I am going bonkers. I'm going X-bonkers. Alright, so I want to first provide you some information about the statues and when they were produced. Obviously, this one was not officially produced, but in its original form, which is the X-Force form, there were 700 of these produced, and this is number 58, and it was produced in 2011. And this was sculpted by Eric Sosa, in case you are completely in the dark about who sculpted it. This was sculpted by Eric Sosa. It's a very lovely sculpt, which we'll get into in a second. This one over here was sculpted by Bowen Designs. This was officially produced. Oh, it's got a signature on the bottom. Very nice. There were 500 of these made, and it was released in 2012. It was actually produced in 2012, but it was released. So right now, it's about June of 2013. This statue was released March of 2013. So about 3 months ago, roughly. Bowen Designs actually produced an X-Force version of this statue and this version of the statue. They're posed slightly different. They have slightly different heads. They're both sculpted by Randy Bowen. They're lovely. Great statue. Love having it. Looks great in my modern display. Can't say enough good things about it. This one, like I said, there was only the X-Force version of this made. It's obviously a completely different statue from this one. It's a completely different design. It's a completely different approach to Warpath. And it's a pretty great statue in its own right. They're both great statues. Spoiler alert, if I'm comparing the two, spoiler alert, I'm not going to be able to choose one as being better than the other because this one is so unique in that it's a custom piece, and because it's so bulky, like the colors just make it look great. Like the colors just pop really nicely. It's a fantastic piece. This one is just a fantastic piece in its own right, and I really don't have any complaints about it. So it's hard for me to say one is better than the other, and so I don't think I'm going to wind up being able to say that. All right, but let's give it a go here, huh? Let's see if we can figure out, or at least I can figure out for you, what's better and what's worse about these statues. Okay, so eventually I'm going to do a comparison of this statue with the original X-Force version because I have that one as well. Obviously, nothing was changed on the sculpt here, so I can talk about the actual sculpt in relation to this statue without, without sort of straying too far away from the point of this video, in that I'm comparing a custom statue to a regularly produced statue. Eventually, I might just also compare this one to the X-Force version of the Koto statue, but that has yet to be seen. There's all sorts of possibilities that can be explored in these comparison videos, and I shall be obviously considering all of them and probably producing all of them in some future points. So stay tuned for that. All right, let's look at this. The base of this statue. The base of the statue loses, and that's it. That's all I need to say. I really dislike the base of the statue. I don't think they put in enough thought into it. And what they had actually done was, in the original production photos that were released before the statues were actually released, and actually you can see it on the box art for this box, for this statue. There were like rocks and more debris included in the base, but for some reason they didn't include it in the final production piece. I don't know why they did that, but it sort of took away, I think, from the base. The statue itself is so impressive that it doesn't really matter what the base looks like in the end. So on balance, it doesn't matter. This statue is great. Eric Sosa did a great job with it. But if we're just talking about the base kind of sucks. What can I say? The original base was tan, like a tan color, which is like, not a good choice for like an X-Force character. Like the terrain of that an X-Force character would be seen on in a permanent display. It just doesn't make sense. So even with my X-Force statue, I actually repainted it myself in like kind of like a deep gray, just to make it look like kind of gritty concrete terrain. That makes more sense as far as like the context in which you would find an X-Force character. Base on this one, Base over here, 2 thumbs up. It's like the extended X base that you've seen in the modern Cyclops statue that Bowen Designs produced, as well as the 2 variants that it produced. And it's just kind of got like a glossy or metallic black sheen to it, and it's got the red cutouts. Elegant, fantastic, looks great, no complaints. Winner, absolute winner. All right, let's talk about the boots here. We got some really interesting boots in both statues. I never had any complaints about the Kotobukiya statue boots, but they definitely are less elaborate than the Bowen Designs boot. And also, Rob didn't do as much shading on the boot that for this repaint as there is for the boot in the Bowen Designs statue. And actually, the very shaded sort of boot with all this sort of like advanced technological design it seems to have makes it look really nice and actually better than these boots. So this boot beats this boot, but neither will be getting the boot as a result of this comparison. All right, so let's talk about the... So this guy's in a Detolf, one of those glass cases, but in those glass cases, they're not airtight, so they require dusting at least, once a month or something. It's about that time for this statue, and I can see a little bit of dust. So I didn't mean to offend those dust-averse viewers. Forgive me. I will provide you with another free video at some point in the near future for you to enjoy. All right. What I really love... Okay, so I love the choices that Rob made for the colors on this statue. And obviously, this statue came before this statue. And I don't know. I have a slight feeling that Bowen sort of liked what they saw with this and kind of chose some colors, were inspired by it. Because I took some photos and posted it on StatueMarvels.com, where Randy Bowen frequently visits and interacts with fans. I mean, I might be completely wrong about that, and I probably am. So this may not have inspired this whatsoever as far as the colors go, but I like to think it does because I'm egocentric and I like to think I'm more important than I actually am. Like anyone. Hey. All right. Anyway, so I like the choices that were made for the colors. I think they're fantastic. What Bowen did with this statue as far as like the blue is fantastic. There's like a glossy sort of blue, glossy metallic blue that was used for the blue parts, and it's still like a dark blue like this one, but it's got kind of that metallic quality to it that just looks great. I don't know, I like metallic stuff, and I like metallic elements with matte elements that, like the red is matte, it's not metallic, it's just like a flat red. I like when costumes or statues have costumes with these elements that vary in these tones. So you have this really nice contrast, and it makes each element pop and like kind of stand out really nicely. Is what I mean by pop. So love what they did with the blue parts of the costume here. But he did a really great job with the blue on this. He didn't shade it because I told him not to, and it's dark, and but it's not as dark as the original statue where it's like black. So I don't know. It kind of makes the details in the musculature and the anatomy like pop really nicely, and it looks really nice in contrast to the red, which is like a lovely like blood red, and it's shaded with a lot of black all over the costume. It's actually shaded more than in the boots. So beyond the boot, the red is shaded a lot more, and it looks fantastic. Rob did a really nice job on it, and in contrast to the blue, looks great. The red on this one, great. Maybe potentially, I like the red on this one a little better, like the more blood red. This one's slightly brighter, but I've never really thought about it as it being a problem over here. So great over here, and it's very shaded as well. So if there is any sort of brightness to the red, it's dulled out by the dark shading, so it works really nice. Um, Now, what's really great about this statue, and what I didn't really think to do with this one, is to make it kind of like a more olivey, kind of reddish skin tone color, like this one has, which sort of captures the American Indian uh, ethnic background of Warpath a little better. Bowen Designs actually thought about that as being like an important factor that they needed to make sure that they satisfy in the Warpath statue that they produced. Kotobukiya did not think about that, and when I did the repaint, I didn't think to get him to do that. So this one wins as far as like skin tones. The golds are pretty much identical on both of these, so great choices on both counts. And of course, the hair is great on both as far as the color goes. All right, the knives. Randy Bowen mentioned he likes sculpting knives. He did a really nice job on the knives here. They're like in scale with the rest of the statue. They are deadly and but yet elegant and smooth and nicely done. So great job on Randy Bowen's part with the knives over here. Eric Sosa might have done a better job with his knives, and he actually signed them. He actually wrote his name like Sosa 10, like sculpted in 2010, because I guess he was proud of the knives, and they're nice. They're very nice. They have more detail than the ones over here, so these are actually maybe better knives. Love the design of this costume for Warpath. That's why I was willing to get both statues, because I really like this design for the costume. Like when he was first introduced to me back when Rob Liefeld started X-Force Volume 1 in the mid-90s during Mutant Genesis before he left to start Image. He had like this really kind of elaborate sort of ruffled costume, which was cool because it sort of harkened back to the Thunderbird outfit that his brother wore. Thunderbird being his brother, who was killed about 3 issues or a few issues after Giant Size X-Men, one of the original Giant Size X-Men. And so his brother, James Proudstar, thought that he would sort of, I guess, honor his brother by having a similar costume, or at least that's what the designers of the costume decided. And it was cool, but it's not as nice and simple as this one is. And I think this one works a lot better because it kind of grounds him a little bit more rather than kind of makes him sort of like flary and like too larger than life. So I like this costume, and so I like how it looks on both of these statues. Um, as far as the face goes, of course, as far as the paint job goes, Rob did a good job on this one. He repainted the mask, repainted the eyes, great. Randy Bowen did an exceptionally great job on this one with the face. Like he's like, it's a simple face. He's got this look on his face that's kind of like aggressive, but it's not like it's not tearing his face apart like it is with this one. I think Eric Sosa has isn't very reserved in sort of portraying characters in a sort of stressed stress state where they're about to be in battle or are in battle. I mean, I think he goes a little far with the face. He did the same thing with Colossus. The Colossus he made, it just kind of looks like they're in such an aggressively assertive state that they just become ugly. And I don't really buy that, because him and Colossus, they're they they're confident about their power. They're confident about their muscle, and so it makes sense that they would be in an aggressive state, in an assertive state, and still like kind of maintain their composure. You know, so I like that Bowen did that with both this one and their Colossus statue. Uh, the face on this one, great. The hair is great. It's like dynamic, but it's not too crazy. Eric Sosa made this one very dynamic, but I think he just went a little too far with like the amount of strands of hair, and I don't know. Don't really like it. Don't really like the hair and the face on this one. Everything else in this one is magnificent. Because it's such a dynamic pose, and because he's so much bulkier than this one definitely wins out as far as like the body sculpt. Like there's so many rips to the muscles, and uh, and because it's like kind of his body's kind of twisting. You see all the different muscles in sort of different states, which is a very sort of challenging thing to want to represent. And he did it really well. And the back, I think, is probably what's super impressive. Like, it's just ginormous, and it's got so much like muscle mass to it, and everything looks great. So Eric Sosa did an amazing job on that, and of course Rob did a great job of painting this one. Obviously, this one he's just a little bit more sort of composed. He doesn't have as much bulk as this one, which is fine. So like I said, this one wins as far as like the body sculpt, because it's just in a more dynamic pose and it's bigger. But it doesn't. This one doesn't lose in any way, because it's a different statue. It's a different state for Warpath. It's a different interpretation of him. He's still big and powerful, but he's not like sort of larger than life, just muscle, which is fine. And I've never questioned that as being sort of a shortcoming of this statue. So not a problem whatsoever. I don't know. The arms on this one are fantastic. They're like all veiny and muscular, so they look great. Of course, this one as well. But essentially, the point of saying that was that this one is muscular. Also, it's got that sort of powerful physique. He's taller than most X-Men statues, so as far as like his presence, he does have quite most X-Men Bowen statues. He's taller than most X-Men Bowen statues, so relative to the rest of the characters, he has the presence he needs to have, which is sort of being larger and bigger. So there's no problem with this statue. This one is just sort of, you know, it's just larger than life and bulky. And if he hadn't done such a good job of actually sculpting all the anatomy well and the musculature really well, I actually wouldn't like this statue too much, but he did do a great job of that. And so it's really impressive. When you look at it, it's just like really impressive. Like, you can look at it from a variety of angles and just see all sorts of incredible sort of anatomical detail that just makes it stand out as like a really great piece. So I don't know. This is a fantastic statue, and actually works a lot better in these colors. Just too much better than the original X-Force. To the point where the original X-Force statue, I might be getting rid of it to get the Bowen X-Force statue. I haven't decided. I haven't made a final decision on that yet, but that may be happening at some future point. Just because I really do like the Bowen Designs Warpath statue better. Like, I don't know. It's just fantastic. It's really simple. Okay, so a couple other small details. The belt, and then it's got the sheath, the knife sheaths on the back. They're both different, but I really like that Randy put this X into the back of the Warpath sheath, sort of connecting the sheaths to the belt, adding in that extra X into the design, which, you know, please, the more X's the better. Love it. These are X-Men, for God's sake. You know, he's got the X's on the wristbands as well, but so does Eric Sosa on this one. I like the wristbands on Bowen's better. They're just simpler, but I don't necessarily dislike them here. And this one has some gloves to it, which is cool, and that works really nicely as well. So again, like if I was just comparing, like let's say I was comparing the X-Force Warpath statues of Bowen designs and Kotobukiya, I would say the Kotobukiya would probably lose out to the Bowen. The Bowen is just, it's more elegant, it's simpler, and I think there was just a lot more like sort of reserve used in the design of it. So I don't know, it just comes out like more streamlined and sleeker than this one. But because I'm not doing that, and I'm comparing this red and blue version to a custom red and blue version of the Kotobukiya statues, I can't say that one wins over the other, because first of all, I love the colors of the costume in general, and second of all, this statue with these colors looks fantastic, and you can see that it looks fantastic. It really makes all the elements of the amazing sculpt that Eric Sosa did stand out so great. And depending on how you pose them, you just get a completely different effect from the statue. So it's actually really nice. I guess one of, I mean, if we're going back to the X-Force comparisons, I don't know. This is a close second. It's definitely a close second. I'm not saying it's a bad statue by any means. No means. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about these two statues, and in the end, it is a draw, ladies and gentlemen. We have a draw. You both win the prize of being great additions to my collection, and neither of you will be leaving anytime soon. All right? So you're not going to have to battle it out with a bloody knife fight. Even though that would be really, really cool to see. Just because, you know, they're both like really great looking statues, and to actually see them move and fight would be awesome. All right, getting silly now. Looks like it's time to end the video. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed the comparison. I am enjoying doing these as well as having enjoyed do the other videos, and I've just got, I guess, so much more to show you guys. So there's definitely a lot more coming, and you know, stay tuned. Thank you for checking out my blog, which is X-Men Statues of Future Past .blogspot.com. My YouTube channel, as y'all know, is Dr. Remy LeBeau's X-Lair. And as always, X in the box, because ain't nobody checking me. I'll catch y'all very soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.